In this problem, we want to find a trigonometric function that has an amplitude of 3 and a period of pi. Because the amplitude is 3, the simplest way to describe the function would be to have a equal 3, although a equals negative 3 is another possibility. Second, we want a function that has a period pi. Recall that the period t of a function is 2 pi over omega, which means that omega equals 2 pi over t. So omega is going to equal 2 pi divided by pi, or 2. So now I know a is 3, I know omega is 2. The form of a sinusoidal function is y equals a sine omega x. Of course, I could also use y equals a cosine omega x. Substitute a equals 3, omega is 2 into this expression, and we get that y equals 3 sine 2x. Up till now, we've given you the equation of the trigonometric function and asked you to find its graph. Now what we're going to do is give you the graph of a trigonometric function and ask you to find the function that generates that graph. What we have here is a sinusoidal graph, so we're either going to use the sine function or the cosine function to obtain the equation that gives us this graph. We should notice that the graph contains the point 0, 5, and therefore we're better off using a cosine function to describe or obtain the function that gives us this graph. We could certainly use a sine function, however that would require a horizontal shift. You're going to want to use a sine function when the graph contains the origin, a cosine function when it does not. Next, we need to figure out the value of a and omega. We notice that the graph is oscillating between -5 and 5. We also notice that the graph starts at 0, 5 and then decreases. For that reason, we know that the value of a is positive 5. Had the graph contained 0, -5, then a would be -5. Next, we notice that to complete one cycle of the graph requires 8 radians, and therefore the period of the function is 8. Knowing that the period by definition is 2 pi over omega, we have that 2 pi over omega equals 8. If we solve this expression for omega, we get that omega is pi over 4. So we substitute a is 5 and omega is pi over 4 into this expression, and we get that y equals 5 cosine pi over 4 x as the function that would generate this as its graph.